Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this mindset coaching class. This is really just a class about how you can get your mindset in a place that is going to be most beneficial for you, especially if you're starting at the beginning of your journey and you want to know a bit more about mindset, or you have no clear idea on what mindset actually means. This is the kind of masterclass for you. So let's begin. Your mindset is the pattern of your thoughts and the pattern of your behaviors. That's really all mindset means to me. And we're kicking off with a bunch of definitions just so that you're clear on what I'm talking about when I use these words, and so that I'm clear as well what I mean when I'm talking to you about these things. So your mindset is just this pattern, this repetition, the process your mind immediately goes to, the pattern your mind and your behaviors go to when you're thinking, when you're doing behaviors. This is all your mindset, right? This is the definition that I'm talking about. When I say regulation, we just mean how quickly you can get your emotions back to neutral. So when you're feeling activated or triggered, these are some words I might use quite often throughout this. If you're feeling like you're activated, you're triggered, you need some regulation. That just means it's going to help you get back to neutral. So when you're feeling like you're angry and you want to come back to neutral, but you're not sure how, or you're finding it really difficult to snap out of a bad mood, or you're struggling to reach your happier emotions, things like that, regulation are really going to help you with this, because it's learning the tools, but also doing the practice of getting yourself back to neutral. When we talk about trauma, we are talking about big or small trauma. So you might think some things are small trauma, you might think some things are big trauma. It's kind of dependent on your perspective on what's happened and your emotional attachment to the sequence of events. But really, when we're talking about trauma, it's just a memory that causes an emotional and behavioral response. So your emotional response might be you see or hear or smell or think about something that's a traumatic memory to you, you have an emotional response. So you could get quite angry, or you could get upset and sad. You could get quite fearful or frustrated, and it can cause a behavioral response. So maybe when you do get angry, you feel like you need to punch something. That's a behavioral response to that trauma. Or a behavioral response might be you run away from a situation if something sparked a traumatic memory. You might feel like you need to run and get out of the situation, and you kind of just blank and get out of whatever's going on. Another behavioral response might be that you get activated and triggered, and you react. That might be the behavior you switch to when you're feeling the traumatic memory come up. It can really be a range of responses. It can be a range of emotions and behaviors. There's not a really set pattern of how you can respond to trauma. Some people might have a set pattern, but for others, it's completely varied. This is what we mean by trauma. When we're talking about balance, it just means that life feels equal in all places. So we're saying basically just that when you're feeling like life is equal in all places, you're feeling like there's no area that's predominantly taking your attention or sucking your time or your energy. If you're feeling equal in all places and you're feeling quite comfortable in all places, that's just what we mean by balance. When we say aligned, it just means that your current behaviors and thoughts are going in the same direction as your wants, your needs, and your values. So the current behaviors and thoughts right now are contributing to your mindset. When they're going in the same direction as the things you want, the things that you feel like you need, and your base, like your essentials for life, and your values, what you prioritize ahead of other things. If that's all going in the same direction, we're feeling aligned. We're feeling like we are in the right place at the right time. We're heading on a good trajectory. That's what we mean by aligned. And when we say nervous system, that just means the system from your brain to your body and your body to your brain that causes your emotional and physiological state to change. So again, your emotional state, it's when you're feeling sparked, you're feeling triggered, you're feeling activated, good or bad. This is a nervous system response. Emotionally, physiologically, we're talking about your hormones. So when your body has a physiological reaction, your hormones start flooding. You might have a lot of adrenaline, things like that running through your body. That's your physiological state, and that changes with your nervous system's cues and triggers. When we're talking about gratitude, it's just that joyful feeling you get when you think about something. So I'd say happiness is a prolonged thing, but gratitude is that just joyful spark, that moment of contentment when you think about something. So you might be thinking about your dog, you might be thinking about the money that's just been paid into your bank account, you might be thinking about family members. You just get that joyful spark, that joyful feeling when you think about something. And like I said before, happiness is just feeling whole and content towards something for a prolonged period of time. So rather than just that spark, which is what I kind of attribute to gratitude, it's that real wholeness and that content feeling. And it's for a longer period of time than just that spark, just that moment that you're actively thinking about it. Happiness is quite pervasive. So you can feel happy about something for quite a prolonged period of time. And that's how you know that it's a state rather than just kind of like a momentary feeling. When we're talking about discipline, and this one's a key one for today, we're talking about doing hard things, even when you prefer to do literally anything else. And this is super important because discipline is about doing it even when you don't care to do it, even when you're finding it hard, you really don't want to, there's no motivation, you are struggling to convince yourself, it's doing it anyway. That is what we mean by discipline. And when we're talking about focus, it's avoiding distractions for a period of time. Focus doesn't need to be this long drawn out thing where you have to have all of the setups and Pomodoro effects, like all those kind of things. It's just avoiding distractions for a period of time. So if you can get yourself to a place where you can just avoid the distractions that are going to take you away from the task at hand for whatever set period of time, whether that's 5 minutes or 5 hours, that is when you are in your focused state. When we're talking about consciousness, I just mean that you're thinking about it. You intend to do it. So the thought you're thinking about, the intention that you're going to do an action, that is your conscious mind. You're thinking about it, you're intending to do it. There's thought behind the action. This is your conscious mind. And when we say subconscious, it just happens without any thought or intention. So right now, as you're listening to this, you are breathing. It's happening without any thought or intention. Unless you're sat doing a guided breathwork meditation, we don't really think about breathing. And even when we do that, all we think about is the fact that we have to breathe, not how to breathe, that kind of way, if you see what I mean there. So it just happens without any thought or intention. You might have subconscious actions, patterns and behaviors that you don't ever consciously think about. It's not things that cross your mind, even though you do them, but that is what we mean by subconscious. So I want to kick off really this talk with, where is the only place you have to live? And I want you to think about this for a second. In this whole world, on the whole planet, where is the only place you have to live? The only place you have to be? It's your mind and your body. Yes, there's borders, there's passports, there's all that good stuff. But the only place in the whole world that you can't escape from is your mind and your body. You can't take yourself out of your mind. You can't take yourself out of your body. They are intrinsically linked for your whole life on this planet. They are the only place you have to exist. You can move your body around. You can take it wherever you like across the world, but you have to exist within it. You can't take yourself out of your body. So why don't we spend more time taking care of it? We usually say, I'm too busy. I don't have enough time. I'm tired. I'm not healthy enough. So what's the point? I don't know how to. I don't know how to take care of my body. So what do you want me to do, kind of thing. But instead of that, instead of these thought processes that we easily hold on to, how about we flip it? How about we say, I'm going to prioritize this. I'm going to make the time. I'm going to sleep better and I'm going to prioritize my sleep. I'm going to make different choices for myself. And I'm going to bring myself an awareness and an education to be able to do this, to be able to take care of myself. I'm going to do better for myself. So the good news is, by being here today and by listening to this, you're doing at least 2 of those things. You're making a different choice in order to be here. You could have been doing anything else, sat on the sofa watching Netflix, choosing to go do something else with your time, but you've made a choice to be here listening to this. And you're giving yourself an awareness and an education right now. By tuning into this talk, you're opening yourself up to your awareness and your education on this topic, taking care of yourself, taking care of your mindset, learning about discipline and balance and regulation that we're going to jump into soon. You're giving yourself this. And you're also making time for this work. Like we said, you could have been anywhere doing anything, but you've chosen to be here listening to this right now. So you're actually intending to make time for this work. This is in your conscious mind, and it's really great that you're here. But most importantly, you're telling me you're ready to look under the hood. By listening to this right now, you're saying, Alex, I'm ready to show up. I'm ready to learn more about this. I'm ready to see some things that I might be scared of, but I'm willing to look at it anyway. I want to find out what I can change and shift to make my life better, not just for me, but for the people around me. And I'm ready to do this work. That is what you're saying by being here today. So let's try something. I want you to think about one good thing and one bad thing that each of these jobs do for people. So write these down. If you're watching this with someone else, chat to them about it. But what do all of these job roles do for people? So a doctor or a nurse, a lawyer, a judge, a salesperson, a security guard, firefighters, what do they do for people? One good thing and one bad thing. And you might say, they rescue people, they save lives, they keep the streets safe, they rescue you from a burning building, they help you find the right product for your needs, they keep you safe when there's danger about. These are all good things that they do. You might also say that they might misdiagnose things, they might get things wrong, they might pass the wrong judgment or sentence, whatever you call it. I'm not a lawyer. They might convince you into the wrong purchase. They might get it wrong when they're trying to secure a premises. They might think that you're a threat when actually someone else is. They might mess up when they're coming through the burning building, easily any of these mistakes, these kind of things. That's what they can do for people, both good and bad. And the interesting thing is that your brain plays each of these roles for you daily. And it can work for you or against you. It can do both. But because it takes on each role to operate you, it's just doing its best to keep you alive and functioning. That is all it's meant to do. It's to keep you alive and to keep you functioning. It's not your brain's job to do it well enough that you emotionally feel like you're having a good time. That is not your brain's job. That is not its focus to make you emotionally feel like you're having a good time. It just has to keep you alive. And when its job is to keep you alive, it doesn't have to make you thrive in the way that we all like to think that our brain is in charge of doing. It's just not its role. If it has the capacity and it has the time and the availability to allow you to thrive, it's going to, of course. It's not going to be detrimental on purpose. The brain doesn't really work like that. However, it is just primarily meant to keep you alive, whether that's making you have a good time or making you have a bad time. As long as you're alive, it's doing its job. And it's up to us and our conscious minds and training our subconscious thoughts to be able to train our brain to get to a state where it can keep us striving and thriving. But if we don't do this work, if we don't work on our mindset, if we don't work on our health and nutrition, if we don't put ourselves first, we are going to constantly be in a state of survival. We're just going to be floating on this alive existence. We're not really going to be thriving. We're not going to be enjoying it and having a good time whilst we're here. And really, that's all we want. If you think about all of our priorities, all of our values, all of the things we care about in this world, it's just us trying to make sure that our time and our existence on this earth is a good time, is a good one, and that we're enjoying it and having fun and loving and happy and all of the good stuff. So it's up to us as well to reach those states, to reach the level that we're going to thrive. It's up to us to train our minds and our bodies to support us in that. Otherwise, it's just going to keep us alive. It's not going to make us have a good time. It's going to choose the path of least resistance, which isn't always the best path for us. It's going to keep us safe and comfortable, but that comfort might not be emotionally advancing for us. We might not feel like we're progressing in life. We might be actually quite unhappy with how our comfort and our comfort zones are existing right now. That's what we mean when we say our brain is keeping us alive but not thriving. So on this, your mind takes cues from you, but it will also fill in any gaps that you leave. So if you're going to leave space for interpretation, your brain is going to connect the dots for you. It's going to make sure that if there's any gaps, it's going to interpret what information it already has to make a decision there, or to put a thought here, or to create a subconscious line from your behaviors and your mindset to your actions. It's going to interpret what it needs to be in that alive state. So it's going to connect dots from data it's already collected. And this data can be trauma, it can be previous experiences, it can be fear, it can be safety and keeping you safe, it can be memories, both real and false. So these are all types of data. Yes, trauma, experience, fear, and things. They can be standalone topics that we can talk about, but really they're all just data that your mind collects and keeps hold of in order to make informed decisions itself on where to move, what's safe, what's not, what can be a threat, what's the best course of action to keep us alive. It's just data it stores and relies on to be able to make decisions to keep you safe. But your brain isn't actually able to tell the difference between real experiences and thoughts. Yes, there's like a base level, but on the whole, it can't actually tell between real experience and thoughts. So these kind of made up things. And this is why we can get so emotional reading books or watching movies, because our brain is viewing them, real and fake, all as the same thing. And your brain then views real and imagined stress as the same thing. So an example here is, have you ever held your breath while watching an underwater scene on TV? So like James Bond dives underwater, he's going to rescue the girl, he's holding his breath. Oh, is he going to make it? The door's trapped on the sinking car or whatever it is. And you're thinking, is he going to make it? Are they both going to be hurt here? How long until they get back to the surface to take the next breath? And you're holding your breath and you're imagining the scene. Well, not imagining if you're watching it, but you know what I mean. You're watching the scene and you're thinking on edge, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? And then he surfaces. He saved the day, but he surfaces the water and you finally take a deep breath because you realize as you've been watching it, you've been holding your breath too. That is because your mind is viewing it as you also being underwater. So if you've ever watched an underwater scene and you're realizing now that actually, yes, you do take a breath when you finally resurface with the character that's on screen, this is because your mind is viewing it as you also being underwater. So when we have negative self-talk, our brain can't actually tell if that's true or false. So it just has to believe you. If you're constantly telling yourself, I'm ugly, I'm overweight, I'm sad, I don't have good relationships, I am always left behind, no one ever thinks or cares about me, I look bad with my hair in this style, like whatever this self-talk is, especially if it's super negative and it's super degrading towards yourself, it's shameful, it's filled with judgment, your brain has no idea if what you're telling yourself is true or false. So the only thing it can do is believe you because you're the one telling it so. It has to believe you because you are in charge. And with your thoughts, you're either going to limit yourself or you're going to grow. So if your self-talk switches to positive, it switches to encouraging and challenging, you're going to be growing. But if your self-talk is limited to negative and degrading and judgmental self-talk, you're going to limit yourself through and through. So the aim from here and the aim in this class and the aim for your future, to be honest, is to control your mind, not have your mind control you. And we can control our mind, not by thinking of all the things we don't want to do, but by thinking of everything we do want to do. By thinking of all the things that we want to look forward to, the projects we want to work on, creating an aligned life where our thoughts and our behaviors align with our wants and needs and values. By thinking of everything we want to focus on, everything we want to do with our lives, instead of thinking about all the things we don't want to do, we're actually going to be in control of our mind. Your mind is going to immediately input what you're trying not to think about, especially when you consciously think about it so often. So if you're thinking about when you're in the office that there's a tray of biscuits over there and you're not allowed to have them, you've got to stick to your diet, you really want the biscuits and they would be so nice to go with your cup of tea and it would be so fun, but you're not allowed to have them. You're not allowed to have them. You're not allowed to have them. How often are you thinking about those biscuits? Because you're restricting yourself, because you're consciously putting it in the forefront of your thoughts. You have those biscuits in the front of your mind day in, day out when they're sat there in the office. What are you more likely to do if you're always thinking about not having those biscuits because you're not allowed them? You're probably more likely to get up and go have a biscuit just to get it out of your mind, just to stop thinking about it. Or instead, if you focused on your work or you focused on the cup of tea that you really want to have and you've brought in some new styles of tea because you know that those will go better just by themselves, no biscuits, like whatever the thing is, it doesn't have to be a tray of biscuits in the office, but whatever you're trying not to think about, how about you switch it to what you do need to think about instead? How about you switch it to spending more time thinking about your meal prep so that you're going to have things that you actually want to eat, you're really going to enjoy having, you're going to be able to rave and chat about them because you're enjoying them so much. How about you consciously think about that more often than not having the biscuits, than not going for the run, than disappointing yourself in those ways? So when we find ourselves shifting to those old habits and thinking about the biscuits and thinking about the things that we're trying not to think about, all we have to do is catch it and switch to what we do want to focus on. It's really as simple as that. There's no secret hack, there's no big trick, there's no thing to learn. It's a 5-step process. All you have to do is catch yourself doing it. Say, okay, I've thought about it enough now. I'm going to focus on what I do need to focus on. I'm going to focus on what I want going forward. And you're just going to switch that focus. Because the longer your focus is on everything that's going wrong, the more your brain will make that thing true. So an example for you. Have you ever been told you're going to knock over that glass that's sat on the counter that you always put your glass on? And then you do knock it over. Even if you've successfully never knocked that glass off that spot before, because it's the place that you always put your drink, you've never knocked it before, you've been doing it for a while, it's never happened, but you knock it this time. That's because our brains don't like to be wrong. So it's going to do everything possible to make your thoughts true. So you're going to knock off the glass. Another example, if you tell yourself, I'm never going to make it to the gym, I don't have time, where's the time going to come from? I'm going to have to skip this, I'm going to have to do that. I just don't have time. Are you ever going to make it to the gym? Probably not. Why? Because as far as your brain is concerned, there is no time. You are the one that's repeatedly told it so. It's not going to find time out of thin air for you. It's not going to do the hard work and try and convince you that there is time because you're in charge. You've told your brain there is no time. Therefore, it's going to stop being worried about it. There's no time. I'll have to do something else. Why would it go against what you've said? So when I think about mindset, I just think about this kind of saying of where your focus goes, your energy will flow. If you're focusing on all the great things, on moving forward, on doing the things you're meant to be doing, all of your energy is going to go to that. But if you're focused on the negative self-talk, on telling yourself you can't do it, you don't have time, you don't have the energy, you don't have the education about it, so what's the point? You might as well just sit here and binge watch Netflix for 12 hours and never start the project you're really excited about. Where is your energy going to flow then? Your energy is going to flow towards the negative. It's going to flow towards the things that you're hyperfixating on that are bad for you, all that kind of stuff. So if we're going to focus on where we want to go instead of where we've been, we're going to go a lot further, a lot faster. It's going to be a lot easier to move forward. Okay, next we are talking about an alternative education, an Alex education on balance. Now I want you to write down, chat to the person that you're watching this with, whatever it is. What does balance mean to you? Does it look like working 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. on something you're really passionate about? You get up in the morning, you go to bed late just because you're really passionate about this thing? Does it look like commuting 3 hours to the job that you really adore? You wouldn't want to do anything else. It's your passion. Does it look like spending £100 a week on a meal prep service because you hate cooking and it's the bane of your existence to have to go to the kitchen? Does it look like waking up at 5 a.m. for your gym class and going to the ice cream shop that night for your favorite ice cream scoop? What does balance mean to you? To me, there is no universal way to have balance. There's no one way. There's no one day that balance looks the same for me, but definitely there's no universal way to have balance. What my idea of balance is will not be the same as yours or the person next to you. And that gets to be okay. Someone might not like your idea of balance, but what they think is absolutely none of your business. What their thoughts are, what their priorities are, it's just none of your business. So don't compare your balance to the people around you. They're not going to understand because they don't have the same wants and needs as values as you do. And you're not going to understand what they choose to prioritize for their balance either. And just a reminder, it is absolutely none of your business what they choose to prioritize, what they choose for their balance. It's just none of your business. It doesn't affect you. It's just not up to you. However, in my world, balance does involve discipline. It massively involves discipline. So a reminder of what we mean by discipline is just doing hard things, even when you would prefer to do literally anything else on the planet. And balance involves using that discipline to keep your goals aligned with your current actions. And the actions are a really key point here because without taking action on anything, you're not going to move forward. You're not going to see the progress. You're not going to get the thing that you're trying to achieve. Balance involves saying no to things that don't serve you. And it also involves saying yes to things that benefit you. So when you're saying no to things that don't serve you, it means things like saying no to your partner because they want to go out to the cinema and they want to eat 3 bags of popcorn and 2 Tango ice bars and binge on chocolate and the pizza nacho snack, whatever it is at the cinema. They really want to get basically high on junk food. But that doesn't serve you right now because you're training for a marathon. You need to be in optimal health. That doesn't serve you. So that actually involves saying no to your partner. It involves having that boundary. It does involve saying yes to things that benefit you. So we'll use the same example. If you're training for a marathon, you need to say yes to all of the good food that's going to help fuel your ability to run the marathon. You need to say yes to putting your shoes on, going for that run to help you train. You need to say yes to spending that extra money to have a coach that's going to get you there in optimal time, especially if you're short on time. These things, it involves saying yes to things that are going to benefit you to achieve that goal, to achieve that balance. It's going to involve doing things that scare you. And this can be quite hard for people because they don't like to live in fear. They don't like that experiencing the feeling of feeling scared, of feeling fearful. But doing things that scare you, such as going to the gym, going to the weight section of the gym specifically, I know a lot of women are scared about that. Even though it's good for you, it benefits you, you've got to do the things that scare you. It involves being firm in your boundaries. Like we said with the going to the cinema with your partner example, eating the Tango ice bars and the popcorn, you have to hold that boundary because doing that thing might be beneficial for your partner, but it might be really detrimental to what your goals are, to what your balance is. So if you do need to be firm in your boundaries, it could look like, yes, you'll go to the cinema, but no, you won't take part in the junk food binge. You won't take part in the Tango ice bars or the popcorn. You're going to sit there and watch the movie, and then you're going to go home instead of going out to eat for more pizza and junk food. You're going to have the salad that you prepped at home, whatever it is. If your boundary is being challenged, you still have to be firm in it, even though it feels easier sometimes to people please, to make them happy, to have a quiet, easy life. Actually, you're compromising your peace, you're compromising your safety, you're compromising your balance for someone else. So being firm in your boundaries is absolutely vital. And it involves making your undesirable behaviors inconvenient. So an example here might be like, you're doing the food shop in Tesco or Aldi or Waitrose, whatever good food shop you like to go to. If you're trying to cut out the biscuits, you're not allowed them in the office, whatever, then don't go down the biscuit aisle. Make that behavior of picking up the sweets, picking up the crisps. This obviously isn't just related to food. Input whatever thing that is a behavior that you don't like about yourself right now. Make it inconvenient. If you always go down to grab your packet of crisps at 11 p.m. at night, even though you know it's going to hurt your stomach and you're going to be up for the next 3 hours, make it inconvenient. Don't have the crisps available to you. When the shop's closed, that's it. No crisps for you. Make those undesirable behaviors inconvenient. Make staying in bed too late inconvenient. Put an alarm on your phone. There's a good one called Alarmy, Alarmy. Put that on your phone. You have to choose something that's downstairs in your kitchen, has to get you up and moving. The back of your toothpaste packet, you take a photo of it, and every time that your alarm goes off on that app in the morning, it won't stop ringing until you go take a photo of that thing. So obviously you're going to have some discipline of not keeping the bottle of olive oil next to your bedside table, but it's going to get you out of bed. It's going to get you into that habit and that routine. I'm not saying you have to do this for 3 years, but maybe for the first couple of weeks of getting you into a 5 a.m. wake up, you have to have the discipline to get out of bed, to go shut your alarm clock off. This is making your undesirable behavior of staying in your bed, sleeping in too late, skipping alarms. It's making it super inconvenient for yourself. This is what balance also means. So without balance and discipline, we really can't stick to our goals. It's really hard. And then we're going to feel stagnant. We're going to feel like we're not progressing anywhere. It's going to feel really tough. So I want you to discover your balance. I want you to ask yourself these questions. What are 3 things that make me happy? What is one hard thing I could do this week to prove to myself that I have discipline? If I could do anything today to get one step closer to a balanced week, what would it be? Whatever your answers to these questions were, and if you need to go back and rewatch them or have some more time to write them down, go for it. But whatever your answers were to those questions, focus on that this week. Focus on what 3 things make you happy. Whatever those 3 things are, implement more of them in your week this week. If there's one hard thing that you're going to be able to show that you have discipline in, do it. Build that evidence for yourself that you're building the discipline, that you have discipline, that you're going to do the hard things because it's good for you. And do the one thing that's going to get you close to a balanced week, whether that's putting in extra work, whether that's actually putting your work down and spending more time with your family, whether that's going to the gym or eating the junk food or whatever that thing that's going to bring you balance is. What can you implement, just one of them this week, to get yourself a step closer? And now we're going to head into regulation, because this is the third key element of what we're talking about today. So a quick reminder, when we say regulation, we just mean how quickly you can get your emotions back to neutral. And your nervous system definition reminder, this is the system from your brain to your body and your body to your brain that causes your emotional and physiological state to change. So your emotional and your hormones, your internal state to change. You don't need to read all this. It's just kind of a photo to illustrate. But when we're talking about your nervous systems, there are many, but we're specifically talking in this class today about your parasympathetic nervous system and your sympathetic nervous system. So we'll kickstart with your parasympathetic nervous system. I trip over this word all the time. You can shorten it to PNS if you like, but your PNS is your rest and your digest system. This system is really focused on sleep. It's helping your body reach restorative levels of sleep. It's going to help you heal, especially if you go to the gym a lot or you train for a marathon or this, that, and the other. If you're doing strenuous work activities, like you're building things or you're using a lot of mental capacity, you need that restorative sleep. It's going to help you heal things that are breaking as you're working, all that good stuff. It's going to restore your energy levels, especially if you're doing tiring things every day. It's going to help you detoxify your body. And that's a big one, because we put in a lot of toxins to our body every day. If you're drinking Diet Cokes, if you're having glasses of wine, if you are eating junk food, that's all toxification in the body. So sleep and your PNS are going to help you detoxify your body. And it's going to give your memory paths more time to build. This is the kind of state where your body makes connections, your brain makes connections. Your memory paths have more time to build when you're in your PNS. You also have a lot of time for digestion, partly because you're getting good sleep, you're able to process, and your digestion has time to work properly, but it's going to improve your overall digestion and your overall gut health. It's going to reduce leaky gut, and that's something that we can jump into on another call. But if you want to look it up, definitely look how your PNS helps out with leaky gut, gives you time to digest properly, like we said. It gives you increased nutrient absorption because you're actually digesting your food properly. Your body is able to take out what it needs from the food you are eating and release what it doesn't need. And it's going to help you with hormone balancing because you have time to reabsorb those hormones that have been flooded throughout your body. It has time to detoxify the body, all that good stuff. And it's going to help with processing. It can process less urgent needs. So like we said before, if you don't have the capacity for your brain to thrive, it's not going to, it's just going to focus on keeping you alive. So your brain can process memories better, which makes you less forgetful when you're in your PNS, or when you shift into your PNS often enough. And it helps regulate your emotions easier. You're not going to be as reactive to small stressors. So I don't know if you've ever been in a state where you have a lack of sleep, maybe if you've had children and that first couple of months for the newborn that you really have a shaky sleep cycle, all that kind of stuff, you're far more reactive. You react to small stressors, you're on edge all the time. Anything can make you cry or make you angry or upset because you're not able to regulate yourself very easily because you haven't been shifting into your PNS enough. So when we're talking about your sympathetic nervous system, we're talking about your fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. A lot of people have heard of their fight and flight response. Not so many people have heard the freeze and the fawn response, but these are all part of your sympathetic nervous system, your SNS. So here's what we mean when we say all these words. When you're in your fight system, your body is preparing you to defend your life. And it really is as basic as that. Your body thinks that your life is in danger, you're being threatened by a predator. It's going to prepare you to defend your life. When we say flight, your body's preparing you to flee the threat. Freeze is trying not to alert the predator any further. So you're going to just freeze like a deer in headlights, try and make the threat pass you without noticing you're there. And when we say fawn, it's about making yourself as non-threatening as possible, keeping yourself small, huddling in, the kind of doe-eyed expression, the innocence, all that kind of stuff. It's making yourself as non-threatening as possible to the threat. So here are some of the sympathetic nervous system responses, especially when you're in your fight or flight. These do also come up when you're in your freeze and fawn response, but primarily in your fight or flight, we're looking at things like shortness of breath, your heart rate accelerating, your muscles are tensing, really hyper-focused vision, you kind of zone in on things and super detailed vision. It's affecting your memory. You're running on adrenaline and cortisol, and this is a big one. You're flooding your body consistently with two hormones that are for stress and for preparing your body to fight or flee. And this is all taking a lot of energy out of you. This is pretty much just accelerating all parts of the base response to danger. So all of that, a lot of the time, is going to take a lot of energy out of you. Our bodies just aren't meant to stay in our sympathetic nervous system for long periods. This is meant to be a split second. You have to prepare to fight for a couple of minutes, or you have to prepare to flee and run as far and as fast as you can for a couple of minutes. Your sympathetic nervous system really is just meant to be in those really tense, really high stress moments, not for prolonged periods. And we wear ourselves down by being in this system. We're going to have bad sleep, and we're going to struggle to get back to neutral and regulate ourselves at all when we're consistently in our sympathetic nervous system, when we're consistently on edge like that. And here's a fun fact for you. Eating is a comfort response to extended periods of stress and fight or flight. So when you're in your sympathetic nervous system too much, you might reach for food, partly because it's comforting. You might have good memories attached to eating and things like that. But we eat the food weighs our stomach down, our stomach gets heavy. This allows our diaphragm, which is just under our lungs, it helps us breathe. Our diaphragm can then have more space to move because our stomach has dropped down a bit because it's heavier. We can then breathe deeper. We take better breaths, we breathe deeper, we get more oxygen into our body. And therefore, from breathing better, we think we are temporarily safe because we are increasing our breathing. We're not having that shortness of breath. We're actually taking longer, deeper breaths because we're able to. Our diaphragm is dropped. This is telling our body that we're temporarily safe. We're feeling better. We're safe. We're okay enough to eat. Because obviously, if you're in a fight or flight situation, you're not going to stop by the watering hole to munch on the grass. Do you know what I mean? So that is temporarily telling our body that we're safe. So people switch to comfort eating and to eating as a response to fight or flight because it creates that temporary feeling of safety and lack of stress that our body desperately needs. So we learn to regulate because it's going to help your nervous system come back to neutral. So when you've hit that fight or flight peak, we want to be able to bring ourselves back to neutral, back to an equilibrium that isn't either in our sympathetic nervous system or our parasympathetic nervous system. We want to be neutral. So the aim of regulation is to exist in neutral most of the time and only shift into our fight or flight response when there is real danger. So here are my top 5 regulation practices. There are plenty more. You can add your own. It's really up to you, your body, your balance, your schedule, things like this. But my favorites are meditation, yoga, breath work, journaling, and cold exposure. I'm still a newbie on the cold exposure front. I'm still sometimes chickening out when I need to switch that cold all the way up on the shower, but I try and I do my best. And sometimes if it doesn't work, I then switch to something else like breath work or journaling in order to get my regulation in. But, like we said, discipline, doing hard things every day, I do attempt it. But these don't have to be rigid practices. I just fit them into moments of my day. So when I have more time to journal, I'll do a longer journaling. If I just have to fit it in for 5 minutes in the morning to clear my headspace, I'll just do 5 minutes. If I only have 10 minutes for yoga or Pilates, I'll find a class that is specifically 10 minutes long. There's no excuses. I fit it into my day. Even at my desk at work, when I was working in the office, if I needed 5 minutes to clear my head, I was feeling overwhelmed, I would switch to my breath work, close my eyes, no one was looking at me, and I would just get in my breath work. So I just want to quickly touch on this because it can seem like regulation and regulation practices are a bit woo-woo, or they're a bit spiritual, or you think they're a bit airy-fairy and fluffy. You just don't really like the thought of them. My client has used regulation to change her life in 90 days. So we had one conversation. We did 1 hour together. We worked through some of the things that were coming up for her. She implemented the homework that I gave her. I didn't see her again for 90 days. Didn't see her, didn't speak to her. She came back to me after that hour-long conversation, and she had implemented cold showers 5 minutes a day. She absolutely loves them now. She feels deprived if she doesn't get her cold shower. She has a skincare routine that's focused on enjoying the experience of skincare. She's smelling the oils, she's rubbing them in to make sure she's spending time with herself. She's getting really intentional with how she applies things and letting them soak in and actually being present with herself. She's firm in her boundaries in how she is treated. If someone is disrespecting her, she's going to tell them about it, and she's going to tell them how she will be tolerated, how she will tolerate being treated, and how she will not tolerate being treated. She's going to be firm in how she expects to be communicated with and what other people can expect from her. And she's super open in her communication with her loved ones. And that's a big thing because if you're having issues at home or you're having conflict, this, that, and the other, open communication is going to be a lot of the time the easiest fix that's going to help you change your life just by being more open in your communication, in getting across how you're feeling more effectively, in saying what you need, saying what your values are, saying what you're prioritizing, working out what's balanced for you so that you can get the best out of your situation. Regulation is really going to help in all of these. So now she's feeling healthier and happier. She's feeling so grateful for her life and her opportunities. She's able to understand others better because she's learned to regulate herself. She can now notice how other people get reactive or triggered or activated by something she does or something other people do. She's able to notice that about other people now. She can let go of previous trauma, and that was a huge thing for her. She's really caught up in past trauma. She'd done healing work before, she tried therapy, she did all of these things, and she still couldn't work out why she couldn't let go of this trauma until regulation practices and releasing that trauma from her body were implemented. Then she was able to actually let it go. She knows her limit with her work-life balance. She knows how to balance her life now. She's completely changed her life. So for your most successful year, you need to focus on balance, discipline, and regulation. We're going to implement regulation because it's going to change your life. You're going to feel happier. You're going to feel more grounded. You're going to feel more gratitude daily. But it's really good to understand that you might have balance, you might have focus, but if you have no discipline, you're going to be inconsistent. You're not going to be showing up for yourself enough. You're going to be doing it periodically, and you're not going to see the results and the change that you're looking for. With discipline and focus, but no balance, you're going to probably be stressed and overwhelmed, and it's all going to fall apart anyway. If you don't have that balance, but you're really hyper-focused and you're doing all the things that you need to do, even when it's hard, even when you don't want to do it, but you do that too much and you don't have any balance in your life, you're still going to feel that stress. You're still going to feel that overwhelm because you're not meeting all parts of your life. You're not feeling equal in all places. So you're going to feel stressed and overwhelmed. If you have discipline and focus, but no regulation, You're probably going to be stressed out and happy and reactive because you don't know how to bring yourself back to neutral. If you're feeling like your discipline is actually causing you stress and you don't know how to get back to neutral, you're still going to be stressed out. You're going to be unhappy about it and you're going to be reactive still because you don't know how to bring yourself back to that neutral. So finding your equilibrium with these is absolutely key. Now I just want to talk about your transformation process, what everyone's been thinking. Here's your plan of action to improve your daily life. Again, balance, discipline, regulation. So each day in your week should reflect one area that you're balancing. So whether that's extra fun, extra work, extra commitment to something that's beneficial for you, you need to have one area of balance in your day. You also need to have one area of discipline. What needs to be done today to get you to a step closer to the goal? Does that mean you need extra work or extra fun or whatever it is? You need to be disciplined in that today. Do you need to implement something new to be disciplined in that day? Whatever it is, your discipline area that's going to get you a step closer to the goal, you should have that in your day. And one regulation practice, whether it's 5 minutes or 2 hours, pick a cold shower, pick your breath work, pick your yoga, pick a run club, whatever it is, however long you can fit it in your day that's going to feel optimal for you. We want that one regulation practice put in there. And just remember, we are talking about 1% better every day. We want this transformation. And this transformation happens when you commit to just being 1% better each day. It's not realistic to try and change everything all at once, but the commitment to small changes, including the ones that will make you happier, those are the ones that are going to stick. So if you're not going to do it now, and you're not going to work on yourself now, when are you going to do it? And if it's not you that's going to be doing it, who's going to do it for you? Who's going to pick up the hard slack? Who's going to be the one to communicate better in your relationships? Who's going to be the one to get your business off the ground? If it's not you that's going to do this work, who is? Just going to leave you with that one. So please, please, please take the advice, implement your balance and your regulation and your discipline. Put in the things that are going to make your week easier, but also put in the things that are going to make your week slightly hard. Because if you can't do it when it's hard, how are you going to do it when it's easy? I really believe in you. I really think this is going to be amazing for you. Please get in contact with me if you know that you're going to need more coaching support. If you know that you're going to need some more direction in all of this, absolutely get in contact with me. If it's not with me, I'm going to point you in the direction of something that's going to help. I want the best for you, and you should want the best for you too. So please take care of your mind and your body. I will see you in the next class. I will see you in my DMs. I will see you in email, wherever it is you want to find me. I really look forward to talking to you more. Okay, bye guys.